You know when you're scrolling through the channels on the TV and you see the little P or the I next to the 720 or the 1080? Do you ever wonder what the heck those things were? Well, I did, and I found out. So let's get to it. I thought the same thing for years, and I never thought the answer could be so simple. I stands for interlaced, and P stands for progressive. Well, that clears it right up. Have a great day. Okay, so I'd be lying if I said that that didn't go over my head. But I did do some digging, and I found just like most things, it has a fancy name, but the concepts are really pretty simple. So let's take a look. We know that all video is really just moving pictures, hence the name movies. Let that sink in for a second. Something you say all the time, but you never really get. Look, you want to go to the movies, you want to watch a movie because it's a moving picture. Pretty cool. Think about that next time. So the P and the I after the 720 or the 1080 have to do with the way the image is actually sent and received from the source. But why would that actually matter? Well, I'm glad you asked. You see, most TV programs we watch are in 30 frames per second, which means you're actually viewing 30 individual pictures per second. And then all of those pictures are put together really fast, and that's how we get movement. Pretty simple. Everyone's seen those flip books. That's a perfect example of how a movie actually works. So as resolution got better, broadcasters ran into a problem, which is how do they send these larger and larger files over the radio waves at a rate of 30 frames per second? The answer that they came up with is indeed the difference between the I and the P. The idea that they came up with was to alternate lines of visual information, so only half the information is ever being sent at a time. But to get back to 30 frames per second, they had to then start shooting at 60 frames per second. Then the TV is showing the information at 60 frames per second, but it's only half the information at a time, so we're actually only seeing 30 frames per second. Basically, it's less info faster. 720 I 60, which is 720 resolution, I interlaced, 60 frames per second. So as technology advanced and bandwidth expanded, they started experimenting with different types of transmitting and receiving signals, and then we get progressive scanning. Now, this isn't the type of scanning that they do on Fox News before they allow you to speak. No, this is the future. Quite literally, it's what we use now. When we view images and videos and stuff like that on our phones and on our modern computers and stuff like that, everything is progressive scanning. It just ends up looking better and cleaner because we have the bandwidth to send larger amounts of information at a faster rate. So you could say almost everything is progressive today. Progressive is simply scanning the whole image in one shot and then sending the whole image in one batch, and then it's opened one picture at a time and put all together. So when you see it's 30 frames per second, you can rest assured it is 30 frames per second and there is no government trickery. Now, I know the question of what is actually better is sitting with you like a cat on a hot tin roof. So let's knock down the building so the cat doesn't have to sit up there anymore. Well, we still use both today. You can thank broadcast standards for moving really slow, which could be a good thing in this case. If broadcast standards advanced as quickly as our technology does, then you'd have to buy a new TV every year or two just to keep up with the advancement of technology. But because broadcast standards move very sluggishly and slowly, you get this standard that's been around for 30 years. So you have TV standards that work for years and years and years, which is why you can get away with watching broadcast TV on an older television. It really comes down to what the needs of the show are. If it's slower movement and you can get away with a slower refresh rate like 30 frames per second, then you gain the benefit of having a higher scan quality. But for faster moving images like sports, you want to have the smoothest quality image possible, so you'll get something like 1080 I60, which is 1080 resolution, I interlaced. You're getting double the amount of images at 60 frames per second, so the movement is going to be a lot smoother. The best of both worlds is going to be streaming over the internet. The internet's bandwidth allows you to send large packets of data very quickly, so you can get 4K resolution, progressively scanned, or 1080p, 1080 resolution progressively scanned, and have all that really high quality image very quickly available. But alas, for broadcast, this is what we're at. Speaking of larger bandwidth, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and sharing the video so we can try to grow our little modern media mastermind with Morty. Have a great day. Kolbasetic.